this moment, I admire them. I admire them both. They play in this moment really fantastic football, both Liverpool and Man City. But you will always see that there are an era can come to an end.
That's right, Eric. Eras do come to an end, and unfortunately for you, it was the end of yours. Not surprising, I don't think, to everyone else with that outlandish statement at the start. We're going to talk new managers, and loads of people have been mentioning over the last couple of days and weeks. There's been a few rumours about Xavi Hernandez, and it's a very risky appointment if they went down that way. However, I think the tactic fits quite well. Not so much into the Manchester United squad in real life, but it fits quite well in FM, and it's a really enjoyable tactic to put into the game. So today, we're going to look at how well Xavi did at Barca, how he set his teams up at various points during his spell, and then how we can transfer that into Manchester United. We've got two tactics, as you can see. We got Xavi, and we got Xavi too. And we're going to talk about the tweaks and changes, the do's and the don'ts, the little tweaks we make in game, the substitution or the swap between the two tactics we make in game at times as well, and the criticisms that he has faced and potentially what we may get. And we've had one of those in the defeat to Liverpool, second game of the season. All right, guys, let's get into it. Patreons, thank you very much for your support. The two tactics are available for you to download right now. Check out the Patreon link. Appreciate it if you go check it out. Everyone else, if you don't want to be a Patreon, you just got to watch the video and you can copy in the tactic yourself. All right, we'll go through the player instructions, any little tweaks that we've made in there, team instructions as well. Let's go. Okay, so the Barcelona Xavi Hernandez changed a little bit. There was different tweaks. That's why we've got two tactics for today. So the initial one was they built up a lot of the times in this sort of like 2-3-5 or a 2-3-2-3 with the wingers holding their width on either side. Jordi Alba would sometimes come in, and then Koundé, Sergio Roberto would often come in here and help out the single pivot in Busquets. Now, the one that I've liked the most was the 3-1 victory over Real Madrid in the Supercopa. I think it was at the start of January 2023, during that fantastic 22-23 season when they became champions and also had the best defence in Europe. Something that Manchester United need to get hold of. Definitely is the amount of goals, shots they're conceding. So we know Xavi Hernandez likes to control the games, but different to maybe what an Arteta is doing at the moment, where he's often sitting back in sort of like a mid-block and trying to allowing teams to have the ball. Xavi is very much under the school of, we need the ball, we need to control the ball as much as possible, control the game that way, and then press high, extremely high, when we lose possession. As I said, he lined up a little bit like this, but then as Jordi Alba went out the side, he did a little tweak. So the tweak was, Balde obviously came in for Jordi Alba, and then they had a position of, I think it was Koundé, Araujo, Christensen, Busquets, it would have been De Jong, Pedri, Xavi out on that left-hand side, not a winger. And then it was obviously Lewandowski, who did struggle under Xavi. If anyone did struggle out with the new system, it was probably him. And then it would have been probably a Rafinha. Oh no, it would have been a Dembele out on that right-hand side. And what they did was, and I think it actually suits Manchester United quite well, that they have one fullback going extremely wide. That allowed then Xavi to come in. And then Pedri's the 8, Frankie's the 10. Frankie would drop in to make a double pivot. And they would end up with this box formation in midfield with Xavi coming in off the left, Pedri ahead with then Busquets and Frankie de Jong. We can do that at Manchester United, no problem. And then what they would do is they would leave Dembele out on that right-hand side, and then they would build with a 3, with the right-back Koundé coming in and looking a little bit like that. Now, it kind of doesn't work for Manchester United in terms of like for like, but we can basically flip it. Now, one thing they always try to do was leave Dembele isolated as much as possible. So they would generally try and focus the play down the left-hand side, where they would have this overload with maybe a Xavi coming in, a Balde, the holding central midfielder, probably a Frankie de Jong, and maybe even a Lewandowski coming in. They would suck the play over to one side, leaving Dembele isolated, and then it would be overload. I think it's called overload to isolate. So basically overload one side, and then can we quickly shift it over to that right-hand side where then Dembele can get a 1v1, encouraged to run at the defender as much as possible. I think Manchester United can do it. And they could do it by just flipping it the other way and using Fernandes as more of an attacking player to make up that box midfield. So what they would do is, Martinez could be the left back or even a fit Luke Shaw if we ever get fit, but they would kind of build up with this back three with Dalot. I don't really like Dalot in here. He's coming at times to be more of an inverter, and he's maybe not as good as maybe what a Mazraoui is. So the option then could be to get Dalot nice and high. Rashford would keep the width on the left. You would then see them build up with a back three like this, with Euro when fit, or a Luke Shaw, or whoever, even maybe a Harry Maguire in the middle. So build up with a back three like that. Manu would then drop in to help with build up. And then Mason Mount, you could even do a Manu in there and an Eriksen in here. You could even, bigger games, you could do maybe even a Casemiro dropping in here as well. I think Casemiro, with not having to be that single pivot in a team that controls possession, I think we would potentially see better side to Casemiro. Decent in possession, and I think would work alongside this more controlled system a lot better. People close together, a little bit more organised out of possession as well. I think that would definitely suit Casemiro. So with that, it could look like that. Fernandes then coming in, and then there you go. There's your box. And then to get the overload in, you've then got Xerxes coming in. Lewandowski struggle with like that DLF kind of supporting act role, and that would suit Xerxes really well. A little bit similar. Motta and Xavi is a little bit similar in terms of not overly aggressive with the ball, not overly risky with the ball, very much controlling games. And I think Xerxes, obviously we know Xerxes flew at Bologna last year, so that might be an option where he becomes a real integral part if that was the case. Højlund's getting better and better at it. I thought he played really well against West Ham yesterday, doing that lone striker role. He's definitely get better, so there's two options there. So a build-up with a back three. It could even go as a back four with Onana stepping in. Euro would be comfortable out there. Rashford holding the width, and then it would be, with Fernandes down this right-hand side, it would be focusing the play more to the right-hand side and then leaving Rashford or even Garnacho out on that left-hand side. I remember that we said that overload at one side, then to isolate Rashford, who can get in 1v1 on the other side. And then the other option, potentially, I'm not 100% keen on it, I'm going to be totally honest, is the other option where they both invert. Maybe if we brought in a Mazraoui into the side and we went a little bit like this. So the original one in build-up would be the two fullbacks inverting and then leaving a Rashford and Garnacho on either side. I think it's good that he's got options because we kind of relying on Rashford and Garnacho to play all the time. And if you went down the first route of Fernandes doing that sort of like that Xavi role where he's drifting in, it would then give us the opportunity to rest them on occasions. But we could go with this, where Agati gets support, you would have Onana helping him build up, and it looking a little bit like that, with the two fullbacks inverted. I think Martinez could probably do it. Luke Shaw, we know, can do it if he ever gets fit. And then Mazraoui would be probably better than Dalot. He's a little bit better, I think, in possession, a little bit more calmer than Dalot in possession. Dalot can do it. Obviously, we're kind of fitting in, working with what we've got at the moment. Still not convinced on Dalot, but all right. So that is how Xavi may line up if he became Manchester United manager. Let's go and check out very quickly how it looks in FM. Okay, for the Patreon, Xavi 2 is the inverted one that we've looked at here with Dalot going in there to make it sort of like a double pivot with a Martinez, maybe staying in the back line. You could maybe put that as an inverted wing back on defend, but I do like the inverted fullback, suits Martinez extremely well. And then obviously this would be the one where you could get Fernandes and Mount in, maybe even an Eriksen, and obviously the main one would be that you can get Garnacho and Rashford in. However, I have been preferring this one, in particular maybe in bigger games, wanting to control games a little bit better. So we could go down the route of this. Obviously, it would mean a Rashford or a Rashford or a Garnacho would have to sit out. If we go Mason Mount, it could be Kobbie Mainoo. I think you could even go, Casemiro as that DLP who starts a little bit higher out of possession because he likes to do it, but then not an over-reliance that if he gets done, there's no one behind him because we know we've got Ugarte. Not so much the Busquets, but similar in terms of can Ugarte just do the simple things. Busquets was a wonderful player, like a generational talent, but was never the one to be doing 60, 70 yard switches of play. It was very much work off the ball, getting into good positions and then just playing the simple balls a lot of the time and moving that ball very quickly to one of these better players ahead of him. We know Agati is not on that level, but it would be a good foil for maybe Casemiro in them bigger games. Then you could go even, if Mason Mount ever gets himself fit, and that's how it would look with Fernandes coming in and then the Dalot going round the right-hand side. So this is how we've built it up. Sweeper keeper on support because we don't want him to go long. We want to play through the thirds as much as possible. Complete wing-back on attack for Dalot. And we're going mark tighter. A lot of these are marked tighter because we really want to encourage that aggressive press and really aggressive up the pitch, being a lot tighter and seeing if we can win the ball back as quickly as possible. Lenny Yoro, we've gone stay wider, but only just a centre defender on defend. Not really interested in these ball-playing defenders who do long passes. I want us to play simple. Now, we've got him on defender and cover, just so we could get the balance. If I quickly show you the average positions of the 3-1 victory for Barcelona against Real Madrid, Koundé was often this player here. So we've got him stay wider, so then when Delort goes, he can come a little bit wider, with De Ligt dropping in to make a bit of a diamond. And then obviously Martinez staying there, so we'll build out with that 3 with just Yoro coming, the right centre-half coming back across a little bit. So inverted full-back, no playing instructions for that left-hand side. I think it will suit Luke Shaw extremely well. Good progressing the ball, good defensively. And would save his legs doing those majestic runs that he was having to do at certain points during his Manchester United career. So that maybe would help if he ever does get in fit. And I said Martinez can do it, no problem. So they could do that. They could actually flip it again if they wanted to and go the complete opposite way. If a Harry Mas then came into the side, you could flip it. I thought Mazraoui built up yesterday very well. He built up in a back 3, playing in that left full-back role, so he could maybe even do it as well. Ugarte, defensive midfielder, on defend, no playing. I don't want it to be a DLP because then we start switching those balls out a little bit too much. The Frankie de Jong kind of role is a DLP, and I've got Mark Titer out of possession, but I just want that DLP. It may even at times become a defend, that in possession he really just drops in there to build with that too and get that box that we're going to create with Bruno Fernandes coming across. Mazzala on attack, the Pedri role, Mark Titer, tackle harder. Depending on who you've got as well, you could definitely go dribble more because that would be Pedri, wouldn't it? And then the Xavi role is sort of like the Bruno Fernandes role. Sit narrow, roam from position. Depending on who you've got as well as your player, dribble more. Bruno's not a dribbler, is he? But he could definitely do that. He started a lot of big games out on that right-hand side when we've done pretty well as a team when we've done that. Could he do that and then look at maybe pulling those half spaces, those little slide passes into a Delort, across into the box to a Xerxes maybe with a Rashford coming at the far post? Absolutely. The solution, I think, would be what to do with him. Would he want him to drop in there and help with build-up, potentially? And then he might go that other way, which is the Xavi 2, where we've got 2 wingers in. And then the winger on the left-hand side, roam from position, Mark Titer. I haven't left it. I haven't put cut inside with on. I think that'll depend, guys, what kind of player you have on that side. You definitely want it as a winger because you want them to hold the width because we're going to get no width when we're trying to isolate that. You could maybe do it. It'd probably be a good idea, especially for Marcus Rashford, then to cut inside with the ball. I will save that right now. So then when he does get it, he's going to stay wide out sort of when his team has got it and he's not on the ball. When he does get it, he's then going to drive in because you imagine Rashford doing that. And then Joshua Zirkzee up front, DLF on attack, and it does still suit Højlund pretty damn well. Right, lots of team instructions. Attacking width, change that depending on who you're playing. When you're playing against the team you're expected to beat, make it as big as possible. Get those wide players as wide as possible. We need to make that pitch big when teams are sitting in a low block, in particular with some of the other player instructions that we're going to talk about. Focus the play down the right. Now, we've done that because we want to isolate. Remember that overload to isolate. We want to overload one side to try and then isolate that winger on the other. So we're trying to focus the play down the right, so then hopefully it will then come back across to the left. Play out of defence, obviously. No passing to space on low crosses because we're working it into the box. Shorter passing and slightly higher tempo. Now, I have changed this at various points in games just to try and change the pattern of the game. So sometimes when you need to get a little bit of a foothold on the game, by all means go much shorter and bring it down to slightly lower. You will see you gain a little bit of control. Now, the issue is with Xavi in a couple of the games, defensively superb and controlling games, but creativity a little bit lackluster at times. A lot of possession, but he always says that it's not what he wants, just possession for possession's sake, but it does become a little bit of a problem, and we've actually had that in our defeat at Liverpool, where we played really well, kind of controlled the game, which I think away from home, you know, in these big games, can Man United control games a little bit better? They would probably try and do that under Xavi Hernandez. So by all means, you know, at times as well, get it ramped. You know, you don't want to go much higher than that. Higher tempo and shorter. You don't want to go slightly shorter. I think shorter is definitely enough without sort of like moving too far away from the style of play. With time wasting sometimes just to slow the play down. They're quite trying to control games with the ball. So let's time waste when we can. Obviously, if you're chasing games, you need to take that off. Be more expressive. We want those runs. We want to recreate those 1v1s. We want that movement from the Mason Mount or the Manu, even a Fernandes coming in, or if Fernandes is in that attacking role in the middle of the pitch. In transition, counter press, yes, we know that. We know that he wants to get the ball back as quickly as possible and had an extremely high press, especially in the championship season. Hold shape, because they don't get often the opportunity to counter-attack anyway, mainly because of the possession numbers. Teams sit in low blocks, so they don't always have to counter-attack, very rarely. So I thought, let's just hold shape. Let's get our possession numbers up like he would want and control the game, and once again, just build up the pitch rather than trying to go forward extremely quickly. Slow the place down with the goalie as well, distribute centre-half, just so everyone get in position. Once again, it kind of gives you that tiki-taka, controlling, dominating the ball possession style that we know Xavi wants. And then out of possession, depending on the opponent, I've started to go, for most games now, I've actually started to go much higher because he did want to get up the pitch as much as possible. And I've even gone in some games step up more. So depending on your opponent and who you are, just drop them down. Man City at the start of the season, we've played Liverpool, Tottenham and Aston Villa. So we've had a really tricky start. And then at times in games against Liverpool, we've had this set up. When we've played Aston Villa and Tottenham at home, we've moved it up there and been way more aggressive just so we can dominate the ball and just get up a little bit higher, play in their half, play in their defensive third a little bit more. And we can do that when we're pushing up out of possession. So we've had a decent start to the season. Now, the one that I wanted to show you was actually the stats from the Liverpool game. They had 18 shots, we had 4. We had 59% possession. And it was a decent performance up until around sort of like 70 minutes, actually. Made a couple of changes. We brought Højlund on, Garnacho on, just like for Rashford and Xerxes. And then they went down the other end, scored a goal on 72. And it's one of those games that I would maybe see where it's extremely tight and they might lose by an odd goal, but they haven't really created much, playing the ball. It was in the mid-60s up until the point where we did try and change it to try and get back in the game the last 10 minutes. And then Gravenberch, to be fair, scored a really good goal. But something that may happen under Manchester United with a Xavi kind of tactic would be this scenario. In big games, in the game, controlling the game, not maybe creating as much as we would like. You know, they were, to be fair, they weren't creating much themselves until the point where they scored those 2 goals. And it would be a case of, can we then change it to suit us? I decided not to. I was like, if we can get a 0-0 here at Anfield, would be absolutely tremendous. Wasn't to be. And then it's quite difficult then to start chasing the game when we've kind of got that sort of like tiki-taka kind of style. We did, however, though, beat Manchester City 50-50 in terms of possession, scored some good goals. There's a keenness to get the ball back. Look, Mason Mount, who would be brilliant out of possession. Joshua Xerxes dropping off. This is what he was good at Bologna, dropping off, holding players, spinning off, and then getting in the penalty area. Something that he's maybe not had the opportunity to do at Manchester United so far with the counter-attacking style. Ball in the box. He is 6 foot. He's not great with his head, to be fair. But it's Football Manager, so we know that at times anyone can head it when the ball comes into the box. They scored Manchester City just before half-time. And then we're playing well again. Here is Fernandes. Eriksen was actually... Oh, no, sorry. Let's have a look. So we got De Ligt. See how we're set up here. So there's our 3. So the back 4 would have been Shaw, Martinez and De Ligt. Look, so there's our wide. De Ligt being a quick wider. Marking Haaland. Mazraoui playing as that complete wing-back. Ugarte holding. Garnacho being the winger. Fernandes being that Mazzala. And then Anthony was actually doing the AP on that right-hand side with Eriksen being the DLP. And it's a well-worked goal. That's what we want. Playing the focus in the play down that right-hand side, getting that overlapping, that Balde at Barcelona run from the fullback, and then the opposite winger tapping it in at the far post. Beautiful goal. And here we go again, just with that, see the movement of Fernandes. We've kind of got our front 5 there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with Dalot. The only thing I would like to do is that we don't get, and it would mean moving him into that wing-back position rather than full-back position. He just doesn't get high enough in build-up. Which is a little bit of a shame. If he does do wing back, put him as a wing back in sort of like that wing back area in the tactic, you would probably see that a little bit better. But it's a good move. The Mazzala on attack, forcing, sucking in a defender, leaving then Rashford, the winger, out on that left-hand side, giving him the opportunity to isolate, and then Xerxes heading in. Bruno Fernandes gets on the score sheet himself, so focusing the play down the right again. Look at the narrow positioning of Fernandes. We have got sit narrow on as one of his instructions. Lovely swinger with his left foot, guides it into the bottom corner. And then I love this one with Xerxes. So obviously we've got a little bit of a break on now, but this is what he needs to do more for Manchester United and be able to do it with a little bit more slower tempo, a little bit more control, coming in, working with a wide player. We get a little bit of luck, but Marcus Rashford makes it 4-1. Yeah, 4-1 in the end. Absolutely dominated against an Ange team who loves the ball as well. One shot on target for them, and it was an absolute banger from Pedro Porro. And then with this one, we struggled for 60 minutes. We then changed it. We brought on Mazraoui, and we also brought on Garnacho. We brought them out and we changed the tactic to the one with the two wingers because we knew that Mazraoui was going to then be inverting to help Ugarte in build-up. With that, it literally only took then a couple of minutes for us to get our noses in front, and we scored 3 goals in 6 minutes. So Garnacho out on the right-hand side, cutting in, just giving us more of an option, just making us a little bit more direct. Look at him holding his width, really spreading out the pitch a little bit more. We just, as I said, in FM, we just don't get that from the fullback at the moment. It'd be really cool that fullback position, a wing back on attack, really does get a lot higher than what it kind of does in the game. So we need to change, we need to tweak, and that Xavi 2 really gives us the opportunity to do that. And there Garnacho's involved again, poor cross. But now we've got more bodies in the box, look, and that's a lovely low cross from Rashford into Joshua Xerxes. He's really good playing as a DLF on attacking FM. And then we rounded it off. 3 goals in a matter of minutes. Bruno Fernandes playing as a more central, then it was a second phase from a corner. But a really well-deserved win. As you can see, only 8 shots. They had 3 shots. So we're dominating games. We're controlling the game with the ball. That's what he wants. Will it work at Manchester United? It's a very risky one, isn't it? I think there's a lot of them out there. There's not a real standout candidate, I think. All right, guys, let me know your thoughts. Will it work at Manchester United? It works wonderfully well in FM. Will it work with Manchester United in real life? Have they got the squad, the midfield quality to do it? Maybe if everyone's fit. We need to get Mount fit, firing. We need Manu to stay fit. Casemiro, Ugarte, Eriksen's been playing quite well, but is it enough? It's a big question mark. Thanks for watching. Smash a like on today's video. See you later.